Hi everybody, we are back again for chapter 2 of Matilda, Mr. Wormwood, the great car dealer. So I hope you're all sitting comfortably and ready to enjoy. Matilda's parents owned quite a nice house with 3 bedrooms upstairs, while on the ground floor there was a dining room and a living room and a kitchen. Her father was a dealer in second-hand cars and seemed he did pretty well at it. Sawdust, he would say proudly, is one of the great secrets of my success, and it costs me nothing. Just get it free from a sawmill. What do you use it for? Matilda asked him. Ha! Wouldn't you like to know? I don't see how the sawdust can help you sell second-hand cars, Daddy. That's because you're an ignorant little twit, said her father. The speech was never very delicate, but Matilda was used to it. She also knew that he liked to boast, and she would egg him on shamelessly. You must be very clever to find a use for something that costs nothing, she said. I wish I could do it. You couldn't. You're too stupid. But I don't mind telling you young Mike here about it, seeing he'll be joining me in the family business one day. Ignoring Matilda, he turned to his son and said, I'm always glad to buy a car when some fool has been out crushing the gears so badly they're all worn out and rattle like mad. I get it cheap. Then all I do is mix in a bit of sawdust with the oil and the gas in the gearbox, and it runs, sweet as a nut. How long would it run for like that before it starts rattling again? Matilda asked. Long enough for the buyer to get a good distance away, the father said, grinning. About 100 miles. But that's dishonest, Daddy. It's cheating. No one ever got rich from being honest, the father said. Customers are here to be diddled. Mr. Wormwood was a small ratty-looking man whose front teeth stuck out underneath his ratty moustache. He never liked to wear jackets, with large, brightly coloured checks and spots and tiles, usually yellow or pale green. Now, take the mileage, for instance, he went on. Anyone who's buying a second-hand car, the first thing he wants to know is how many miles it's done. Right? Right, said the son. So I buy an old dump, and that's got about 150,000 miles on the clock. I get it cheap, but no one's going to buy it with mileage like that, are they? These days, you can't just take the speedometer out and fiddle the numbers back like you used to. They fixed it so it's impossible to tamper with, unless you're a ruddy watchmaker or something. So what I do, I use my brains, laddie. That's what I do. How? Young Michael asked, fascinated. He seemed to have inherited his father's love of crookery. I sit down and I say to myself, how can I convert a mileage reading of 150,000 into 10,000 without taking the speedometer to pieces? Well, if I were to run the car backwards for long enough, then obviously that would do it. The numbers would click backwards, wouldn't they? But who's going to drive a flaming car in reverse for thousands and thousands of miles? You couldn't do it. Of course you couldn't, said young Michael. So, I scratch my head, the father said. I use my brains. Just what you've been given, just like I have. All of a sudden the answer hits me. I tell you, I feel exactly like the other brilliant fellow must have felt it when he discovered penicillin. Eureka! I cried. I got it! What did you do, Dad? The son asked him. The speedometer is run off a cable that is coupled up with one of the front wheels. So first I disconnect the cable where it joins to the front wheel. Next I get one of those high-speed electric drills and I couple that up to the end of the cable in such a way that the drills turn it backwards. You get me? Yes, Daddy, young Michael said. These drills run at a tremendous speed, the father said. So when I switch the drill on, the mileage of the numbers on the speedo spin backwards at a fantastic rate. I can knock 50,000 miles off the clock in a few minutes with my high-speed electric drill. By the time I finish, the car's only done 10,000 and it's ready for sale. She's almost new. I say to the customer, she's hardly done 10,000, belonged to an old lady who came in and used it once a week for shopping. Can you really turn the mileage backwards with an electric drill? Young Michael asked. I'm telling you trade secrets, his father said. So don't you go talking about this to anyone else. You don't want me put in jug, do you? And by that, I think he means prison. I won't tell at all, the boy said. Do you do this to many cars, Dad? Every single car that comes into my hands gets this treatment. They all have their mileage cut to under 10,000 before they're offered for sale. And to think I invented that all by myself. he added proudly. It's made me mint. Matilda, who'd been listening closely, said, But Daddy, that's even more dishonest than sawdust. It's disgusting. You're cheating people who trust you. If you don't like it, then don't eat the food in this house, his father said. It's bought with the profits. It's dirty money. I hate it. 2 red spots appeared on her father's cheeks. Who the heck do you think you are, he shouted. The Archbishop of Canterbury or something, preaching to me about honesty? You're an ignorant little squirt who's forgotten who you're talking to. Quite right, Harry, the mother said. And to Matilda, you've got a nerve talking to your father like that. Now keep your nasty mouth shut so we can all watch this TV programme in peace. They were all in the living room eating their suppers on their knees in front of the telly. TV suppers, or TV dinners, were in aluminium containers with separate compartments for the stewed meat, the boiled potatoes and the peas. Mrs. Wormwood sat munching her meal, with her eyes glued to the American soap opera on the screen. She was a large woman whose hair was dyed platinum blonde, except where you could see the mousy brown bits growing from the roots. She wore heavy makeup, and she had one of those unfortunate balding figures her flesh appeared to be strapped all around her body to prevent it from falling out. Mummy, Matilda said, would you mind if I ate my supper in the dining room so I could read my book? The father glanced up sharply. I would mind, he snapped. Supper is a family gathering, and no one leaves the table till it's over. But we're not at a table, Matilda said. We never are. We always eat off our knees and keep watching the telly. There's Mr. Wormwood, with his checkered suit. What's wrong with watching the telly, may I ask? The father said. His voice had suddenly become soft and dangerous. Matilda didn't quite trust herself to answer him, so she kept quiet. She could feel the anger boiling up inside her, and she knew it was wrong to hate her parents like this, but she was finding it so hard not to do it. All the reading she had done had given her a new life that they had never seen. If only they would read a little Dickens or Kipling, or they would soon discover there was more to life than cheating people and watching television. Another thing she resented being told constantly was that she was ignorant and stupid when she knew she wasn't. The anger inside her went boiling and boiling and boiling as she lay in her bed that night, and she made a decision. She decided that every time her father or her mother was beastly to her, she would get her own back in some way or another. A small victory, or the two would help to tolerate their idiocies and would stop her from going crazy. You must remember that she was hardly 5 years old, and it's not easy for somebody who's small as that to score points against an all-powerful grown-up. Even so, she was determined to have a go. Her father, after what had happened in front of the telly that evening, was first on her list. And that was chapter 2. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye.